SpecFicMedia.com presents Beyond the Wall, a Game of Thrones podcast, with hosts E.G. Holyfield, Christiana Ellis, Chooch, Viv, and Nuchus.
Well, hello, everybody.
Hello.
I was trying to do the fade and I thumbed it anyways. Here is our season 4 wrap-up show. Finally.
Yeah.
Well, we've had plenty of time to marinate and think about the last season.
Forget about it a little bit.
Yeah, I was going to say, forget about it, move, then lose the access to being able to review them on the DVR when we moved. So it's like, go through notes.
Yeah, lots of reading.
Yeah.
So, everybody knows our cast. Oh, Christiana doesn't have a lower third, so...
Oh, let me turn that on.
Specifically, Christiana Ellis.
Gosh, I'm out of practice.
How have you been?
Been doing okay. So busy, though. I feel like I've had something scheduled every single day for like 2 weeks. It's like it's all good stuff, but it's driving me a little bit crazy.
Good to keep you busy. We have Nutty. How are you doing?
Hello, everyone. I am calling in from... it's not a new location, because the last time we got together, I was in this location. Still beyond the wall, just over in... no longer in Eastwatch. I'm more towards Castle Black. And I completely understand Christiana's struggles there. Before the holidays, I felt that way completely, and I blocked off 2 or 3 weeks where I was going to be doing no recording whatsoever. The first weekend, I had 6 invitations to be on podcasts. And I said, no. And so as soon as I came back, it was, can you be on my podcast? And so, yeah. Crazy stuff.
Yeah. Next up we have Viv.
Hi.
And of course our recent newses are combined, more or less. Wouldn't you say? We've been crazy too. We've moved, so this is new. First test of our new recording rigs and locations and wall reflection noises and all this fun stuff.
You're gonna have to hang some blankets or something. But other than that, I mean, it's pretty good. I will say you guys are much brighter this year.
True.
In this location, Viv was always just like this face in the darkness.
Yeah, the dark blue walls. Yeah, I had that dark blue walls behind me. I was like, I do kind of look like the face from Doctor Who. But wait,
The face of Bo.
No. The stretched out face lady.
Oh, Cassandra.
Cassandra, right? Sorry.
Moisturized.
The last pure human on Earth.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh boy. So us moving, we're going to be grandparents soon, which has been crazy, and we know it's going to get a bit crazier.
Is there a new food update, Viv?
Squash.
Ooh.
Right. Nice little. And we can't wait for him to get here, so it's just all exciting and goodness.
Jump into a little bit of Game of Thrones news. There's been a few announcements and different things going on. One I had on here is that episodes 9 and 10 of season 4 are coming to IMAX theaters.
Ooh.
They're being digitally remastered, the audio and the video for the super large format screen.
Oh,
There's a trailer on YouTube. Their trailer announcing they're going to show the trailer for season 5 in IMAX theaters.
It's pretty cool.
Wait, so people can go to IMAX theaters each week to watch the episodes?
No. It's just this one time. Season 4, episodes 9 and 10 are going to be shown together as a 2-hour block, and then there will be a trailer for season 5. So as far as I know, it's a one-time thing. It's listed as showing for a week, starting January 29th. I know here in DC, it's only showing through the weekend. They're not going all the way through the 7th.
Right.
I don't even think we have an IMAX near us.
It's worth looking into because there's more theaters showing it than I expected.
Well, and also IMAX is a brand that has been somewhat diluted in recent years. I just mean, IMAX used to mean something back when I was a kid. But no, I mean, these days, there's a lot more theaters that are, quote, IMAX, which means that they might have a presentation of these episodes.
Yeah, so they actually delayed the release by a week because they added more theaters. So it's going to be like 150 at first, and now I'm not sure what the total number is going to end up being, but I know they've really expanded it because there was so much interest.
Well, there's an IMAX in Vaughan, so I'm going to have to go look at that. I mean, that's not too far away.
And I've got a link. I'll put it in the show notes for the the direct link to IMAX because they're doing pre-order tickets, but it'll find the location closest to you for the date that you want.
I will say HBO, if the idea came to me because I misunderstood this, if HBO had the new episodes in theaters, I would pay money every single week to see an episode in a theater. Like, go Sunday or Monday night and watch Game of Thrones, I totally would do that.
Well, who knows? Maybe this is just a trial balloon they're sending up. I mean, I can totally envision the HBO executives going, people seem to like this Game of Thrones show. Maybe we should continue throwing spaghetti at the wall. Incidentally, this is a total sidetrack, but Viv, I think the Scott Pilgrim versus the World poster that is behind you on the floor is perfect.
Thank you.
Not just that it's a great poster for a great movie, but the fact that it's just leaning against the wall on the floor just feels right for that movie. You shouldn't even really hang it up.
See, Christiana's the only one that's actually moved into her recording space. You notice she's got a lot nice blinds behind her.
I'm getting pretty close, actually. So there are some boxes where you can't see them quite. There's actually maybe some in the corner over there, but.
I see some Amazon Smiley.
I'm getting close. I'm getting close to where I feel like I am officially unpacked. The biggest decision I have right now is to decide what to do with all these old rock band instruments.
Yeah, and Viv and Chooch and I all have the blank walls behind us. Because we have not moved in yet.
I could not. I planned on it. I was like making sure that our background would be nice, and I was just like, I think I'm just going to sit down for 5 minutes instead and not do that, and just left it. And I passed by Scott Pilgrim, and I was like, come on, friend. And then didn't even have time to look for a thumbtack to see if it was strong enough to hold it up.
Christiana, how long have you been there? 2 years?
Well, at this apartment, you mean? Or because I've only been at this apartment since November. But I've been in Boston since November 2011, so just over 3 years now.
But yeah, that's right, you moved apartment. So you moved in November, and you're more unpacked than I am. I moved in August. I am a putz.
It's deceptive. It's deceptive because behind me is the unpacked, nice-looking part.
See, and
I'm not showing you what's over there, or what's over there, or how I still have all my posters up against the wall, still wrapped in brown paper. So yeah, I've got this field of view presentable is what I've got.
Well
this
done.
Field of view is not presentable. It's better than before.
We have a first question. The Q&A app, if people are click on the event page on Google+. And we have a comment from Dave Robinson. Sorry.
Robeson.
Thank you. We will all be arriving at the IMAX in costume. You could totally Rocky Horror this thing.
I bet you there will be people. You know what? I would love to have a set of Brienne armor and to do that cosplay. That would be so fun, except that it's also just the sort of thing like there's no way I could make it myself, so It's like,
Get ready to
yeah,
spend
but
a lot of money.
exactly. And did I mention I just moved?
Yeah,
I
but
don't think I have any costume pieces that could go for Game of Thrones cosplay.
hmm.
I could
One.
easily put something together as long as it didn't have to be armor.
Well, yeah, that's the trick.
Although
Right.
just showing up in our Beyond the Wall T-shirts is cool enough.
Exactly. Yeah, we're covered.
I'm gonna have to order a new one because mine, I've been wearing it so much, it's getting worn out.
Oh, I already had to order a second one.
There was a
Prior
bit of news on that.
There's what?
Viv had a bit of news on that.
Yeah, I was one of the things that we had talked about was doing a new logo and artwork and all that kind of stuff for season 5. And we're gonna work all that out. We haven't even started really talking about it yet, but anybody that wants to order the BTW crew, the shirt that PG designed, and you can still buy it at the original place. Chooch, that account hasn't closed or anything,
Mm-hmm.
and it will go to benefit anything sold there of that design for sure, because he designed it, would go to the trust fund, don't you think?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Isn't that what we had said before?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I don't know. I guess
So they're going to be there for a while.
Sorry.
There's no rush. They're going to be there for a while. We're not changing the logo like anytime immediate, right away soon. Probably not anytime before, people would be ordering for Balticon if anybody wanted to.
Yep.
SpecFic Media adjusted my audio level. Should I be insulted? No, I was going to mention. I didn't mean to interrupt while you were talking, Viv, but I just realized that Sheriff Bullock left a comment on the event page. He says, "Who has 2 thumbs and tickets to see Game of Thrones in IMAX?" This guy, absent gesture. He also says, "P.S. I can't see Q&A on my Hangout, only Showcase. Google Plus is weird, y'all."
Yeah, it is.
There is sometimes there's a little box with a bunch of little dots in it, and you click that, and you can choose QA instead of Showcase.
It may be missing if you're on mobile, though. I don't know.
Oh, true.
Well, I'll try to keep an eye on the comments here, too, just in case anyone needs to comment that way.
Thank
Very
you,
cool.
Christiana. I was still trying to figure out how to do that. I've forgotten.
Very cool. I think Nettie had another Game of Thrones related news bit.
I did. This came across my Tumblr dashboard this week. And hang on, I'm just going to move in closer so I can read my screen better. So stream close up. It was a picture of the first page in the World of Ice and Fire, which, by the way, is amazing, which is the world book for A Song of Ice and Fire, the books that this show is based on. The world book was put together by Elio and Linda of Westeros.org, and these 2 people George has been using as his fact checkers for in-world stuff, because they are the know-how and they know everything of the world, so it was a perfect fit. Not only that, almost everything that is Targaryen related in there was written by George. He wrote a bunch of new content for this book. The really neat thing is it's the book that Tyrion presents to Joffrey at his wedding, and then Joffrey cuts up, and there's only a few copies left of it.
Awesome.
And so it's a history book of the world written from the perspective of a maester. So there's some unreliable narrator stuff going on too. It's really neat. Very well done.
Can I show you guys something? Be right back.
Well, we have on the Q&A, Tim Dodge checking in. Greetings, Westerosians.
Hey,
Greetings,
Tim.
Christiana loves to build suspense.
Oh, she's got her book right there.
Oh, so jealous. So jealous.
I have to remember where the actual camera is.
And the really neat thing is it's so soft you could use it as a pillow if you wanted to.
It is. It's kind of like, it's like puffy almost.
Yeah.
Cool.
Our sister-in-law gave us the book for Christmas. which was wild. Like
it is super beautiful, you guys. Check out this. Oops, this one of the wall. I don't know how well it'll show up on the. Yeah, the picture is not going to be conveyed in its full glory.
Oh, you don't have IMAX.
Over the webcam. Yeah, no IMAX.
If
So
this
anyway,
was in IMAX.
This story came
Dragons.
from Spirited Fox. Just wanted to tell you a little story. My dad was diagnosed with terminal pancreatic cancer in August last year and was given 3 to 6 months to live. He died January 4th this year. Anyway, just before Christmas, I wanted to give my dad at least a few moments of joy. My dad loved Game of Thrones, so I searched up George R. R. Martin's email address and sent an email explaining the situation and asking if he could reply with a few words of encouragement for my dad. I knew it was a long shot because even on his website, he states that he can't reply to all the fan mail emails he gets. 2 days later, I had an email back from him. He was wondering if my dad had read The World of Ice and Fire, a history book of his world. I said I don't think he had, and he offered to send us an inscribed copy of the book. Not too long after the book arrived, I was expecting a normal-sized book, but what I got was huge. I was so excited to give it to my dad, and I couldn't have gotten a better reaction. In all my years of my life, I have never seen him that happy. He even made himself get up to give me a hug. I'm so glad that I could arrange that for him. Whether George R. R. Martin has assistants writing his email replies, or he does it himself, whoever is at the other side of that email address is an amazing, kind-hearted person. I've emailed back and forth with him quite a bit and let him know a while ago that my dad had passed. He sent his condolences. I honestly can't thank him enough. The expression on my dad's face when he opened the book is something that will stay with me forever. What was written in the book was, "Some dreams of fire to help keep the winter at bay," with his signature. I'm truly grateful that man exists. And I sent a message to Spirited Fox saying that from what I was able to, what I know from George's live journal and everything, he has 1, maybe 2 assistants help him with fan mail and stuff, so it was probably brought to his attention, and then the response was most likely from him. If it's not from him, the assistant explains who it is. So like Ty will say, "This is Ty writing this." So that was really cool, and I thought it was awesome, and from the picture that I saw, it looked like it was a special copy too. So
Cool.
I just thought that was really great, and it was a warm, touching story for the creator of our fandom.
Mm-hmm.
George doesn't hate everybody. He doesn't kill everybody.
He kills because he loves.
Right.
He kills because he wants to keep us engaged.
So does anybody want to give their overall feelings for season 4 as a whole, as a narrative?
Like, it's interesting because season 4, I think, even more than any of the preceding seasons, which, I mean, this makes sense, but it definitely is a season that feels like a middle season. That doesn't make any sense. What I guess I mean is just that, you know how sometimes in the middle of a season you'll have an episode where you feel like, okay, we're getting all the pieces in place, right? Well, this season kind of feels a little bit like the equivalent of that, with the caveat that some big stuff actually does happen, of course. But there is also, I think, a lot of pieces moving around because the whole season is about, like, early on, we lose Joffrey, and that's just leaves everybody in this position of, oh, geez, what's happening now? There's a vacuum. Everything is chaos. And so the whole season is kind of about everything kind of starting to spin out of control.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Definitely. A whole lot of shit happening to set the board.
I think that I've been, I'm kind of easy to please, I guess, with the series because I think they've made so many brilliant casting decisions and execution decisions, and um, I'm clearly a big fan of how they're doing it. Um, so I don't think it would surprise anybody to say that I love the season overall and that I went I went to a lot of going back to rewatch episodes for recording these, which we would do 2, 3, 4 times sometimes for me, and just every time getting that same emotional punch, maybe lessened a little bit more each time, but still feeling it. I mean, that's not easy to do when you're, covering it as information that you're gathering, to keep feeling that emotion every time, to cry every time, and just the different things that happen. But I think I think they really nailed it this season.
Kevin Crosby, wait, was it under control before?
Yeah.
Hate it, Kevin. We got a hello from Nicole.
Hey, Nicole. Hey, Kevin.
Tim Dodge was in there earlier, too.
Yes, and Dave Robeson. I have to say that this last season, I think overall and structurally, I liked it a lot better than the season before. And the thing that's interesting to note is that season 3 and season 4 are supposed to be one book. There's some pieces from other books, but essentially it's one book split up into 2 seasons. I think the latter half, season 4, was much better because it was bookended by 2 really big story elements. You had the Purple Wedding, and you had Tyrion's trial and Tywin's assassination and everything. And so you start off strong, as Christiana was saying, like, wait a minute, now what? And you go through the whole thing, and it's a whole other, wait a minute, now what? And so I think it's a lot more engaging and a lot more exciting. But all in all, I'm still happy that they broke up the book into 2 seasons, because I think if they tried to do 1 season, it would just have been very difficult to tell the story properly. And I don't know, I haven't looked it up, but I've been hoping, and that's why I haven't looked it up, because I don't want to be disappointed, that they continue to do that, where they break up the books into multiple seasons. Because they're just long, y'all.
I suspect that they will, although it's even harder to tell exactly, like, having one season represent any one part of any book, because they've got all the different storylines at completely different places compared to the books at this point. So even if we want to call season 4 the second half of book 3, there's all sorts of stuff that have happened in it that doesn't happen until midway into book 5 in the books. Right. So it's interesting that they definitely have some of the different storylines out of sync compared to where they were in the books. I mean, I think it's working fine as far as the show goes, but we'll also have to see what happens, for example, with Bran's storyline in this coming season, given that they've already pretty much caught him up almost all the way through what he is in the end of book 5 already. So what do they do with him this season? It's hard to know.
Yeah.
Or, if we just don't see from him at all, or if they forego, to completely break with literary reality and go their own way, in a sense.
Yeah.
I mean, they've kind of.
Sorry, go ahead.
They've kind of already said they're going to do that, didn't we find out last year that they had already that George had already given over what was going to happen, and that they were going to do what they were going to do with it, and if they killed off a character in the TV show, that wasn't going to alter the timeline for him. Am I imagining that, or did we get some sort of statement like that?
He gave them, as he said, the broad strokes, none of the little details. When they started the show, he basically told them, look, these are the broad strokes of what's going to happen all the way until the end of the series. It is up to them to decide if they hold those true in the series. They have the ability to stray from the canon and the broad strokes he gave them, but they do know what George says is essential to keep it on track.
Well, and what Christiana is saying is exactly right, because I just verified that Tyrion, you don't even get anything of him in book 4 at all, and we just saw the trailer for the IMAX 2 episodes plus the full-size trailer sneak peek, and they show Tyrion in it, and he's not in book 4 except other than because the way it was, that the one that was one tome and they split it into half, the different POVs. So in the first half, in book 3 it was certain POVs, and book 4 had other POVs, and they just kind of both progressed the storylines together but out of sync.
Yeah.
Basically, is that how you put it?
Well, that's how it was presented to us when Feast of Crows came out. George had said, I wanted to do this whole big book, and we realized it was getting too long. And so the publisher said, we've got to break it up. It's too long. So he split it between the North and the South.
Mm-hmm.
That was in theory. So when Feast of Crows came out, we all said, hey, we're not going to have to wait that long for the next book because he's already got it written. And then 6 years happened.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Theoretically, it is. It's more along the lines of like Feast for Crows takes care of quite a few points of views, and then Dance with Dragons takes care of the others, and then somewhere in either halfway between or towards the back of Dance with Dragons, they all kind of meet up again.
Mm-hmm.
There is an alternative reading list out there that I still need to do, where people have placed them chronologically, so it works really well with ebooks, so you can go back and forth between the books to keep it in chronological order, and I really want to do that, but I just haven't gotten around to it because it's time consuming to. It's hard to switch books when you're reading.
Yeah.
But I wanna try that out. So I don't know how they're gonna handle this. I do know that there's no way they're not gonna have Peter Dinklage in the show every season.
So yeah, exactly. There's no way that they could have ever done it the way they did in the books. Which, even if they could, I wouldn't have advised it because it was a weird way to split the books.
Yeah.
Like, I like the books still, but that was weird.
It was cray-cray.
To have the whole book without Tyrion. So Tim Dodge in Q&A asks, I'm only halfway through Feast for Crows, and I haven't read Dance with Dragons. Am I at serious risk of spoilers if I don't speed read between now and April? Well, I would say, in a sense, yes, because there's already been some that you wouldn't have seen yet if that's where you are. Now that said, it's also true that to the extent that they're creeping up on catching up with where the books are, they're inventing stuff. Yeah. So there was all sorts of stuff this season that wasn't in the books at all, like all the stuff with them going to get the mutineers at Craster's Keep. I mean, none of that was in the book. And so probably they're going to have to invent even more stuff. But I would say, is there going to be spoilers? I would say almost for sure there's already been some.
Yeah, agreed, 100%. Oh, and that reminds me, there's another bit of news story. It was presented as if George came out and said something new, but it wasn't.
George came out? Bad joke.
A Redditor basically went, the original drafts of George's manuscripts.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
Notes are on display somewhere. I don't have the article in front of me, so if you Google it, you'll be able to find it. But it has his editing notes. Now, one of my big problems with the Bran storyline has been that they dropped out a complete character, a whole character that I thought was really important, and I had all sorts of theories as to why they were important. And so the editor writes in their green pen, is this person actually this person? Is that why this is happening? If so, here's your continuity errors. And George just responds in a big red pen, no.
So, yeah, without going further into the details of what that spoiler was, anyone who really wants to know can certainly find it. There was a whole, big whole mystery as to a certain character's identity, and he basically has answered it definitively with those notes now. So,
which he answered it definitively years ago.
Yeah, but it's public
But
knowledge.
it's now online, yeah.
Yeah.
And finding that out though makes me less upset that that character's not part of the show. So there you go.
Yeah,
and it's not the character that PG and I were upset about not being part of the last episode.
Yeah, that was different. That's a whole different other thing.
That's a whole
Initials,
It wasn't just you and PG.
or-
No,
What was it? You guys were
just
talking in code.
Don't even, Church, just don't even. Just wipe it from your mind. Just don't even think about it
I
again.
don't think of now. So I thought season 4, at least compared to the previous seasons, I kind of went back and looking over my notes and different things and trying to remember, because it is all blurring together what happened when, which season. And I can only imagine from the books when things get shifted and remembering where things go or where they happened.
Mm-hmm.
But I noticed that my voting on the show here had fallen in line, that I think it just gets better and better and better every season. I'm enjoying more and more.
I was just going to say, do you want to know your scores? But obviously you've seen them, yes.
One thing I will say, and I feel like it's important to discuss, but I don't want to, have it dominate too much of the conversation necessarily, but this season also had the only example that I can really think of what I felt was a serious misstep for the show.
Yes.
And that was the scene where, at least as depicted on screen, Jaime rapes Cersei.
Yep.
And it became clear as the season went on, and based on the way the producers talked about it, that was not what they intended it to be.
But that's how it was.
Yes, exactly. When you watch it on screen, it seems really clear, and it's frankly pretty disappointing that that's what they would produce if it wasn't exactly what they were trying to show. Like, I just mean, how could anyone watch that and not reach that conclusion, or at least kind of say, guys, isn't this a little, rapey?
To get a focus audience.
Yeah, so I just feel like, given that it became clear that it wasn't their intent for it to come across that way, maybe they were trying to ride the edge, but they shot way over it. Yeah, and so I just feel like there's certainly been times on the show before where, maybe I thought, oh, okay, yeah, that episode wasn't the greatest, or, oh, this part was a little boring, or, oh, I don't know about that. But this, I think, was really the only example I can think of where it really just feels like they did a bad job.
Yeah. And that's something that everyone on this cast agreed with.
Mm-hmm.
Because I remember when we were talking about it, and we were all just like, yeah, no, this is wrong. So...
Yeah. So, I don't feel like it ruins the whole show by any stretch, but I think it's worth pointing out, if only so that we can try to make it clear to them, yeah, you guys do better than that, okay?
Yeah. And honestly, our rating of this season would have been much higher if it weren't for that. Because it was freaking low because of that.
Mm-hmm.
That one episode is our lowest score, and
well, it has so many issues in addition to just kind of having been unpleasant to watch. I mean, there's certainly episodes that are not fun to watch exactly, but not quite in this off-putting way.
Yeah, nobody's going to be popping in their DVD and saying, hey, you know what, let's watch the Reddit wedding before we go out and party. Yeah.
Or if they do, you wonder what kind of party they're going to. Anyway, what I was just going to say also, though, is that I think the big tragedy of it, in addition, is that it just puts this huge rewind on Jaime's redemption arc as depicted in the show, because he had made so much progress, and then that happens, and for a lot of people, it just completely reset everything, and it just made everyone go like, oh, see, he had me fooled for a while, but I guess he's just a bad guy after all.
Yep.
And that's a shame because that's clearly not what they were intending to have happen, but that's what they accomplished. And it's also, again, like I can't quite get over the idea that, I mean, it would be one thing if they decided to change what happens in the story and have it be a rape. I mean, I'm not sure I would have been a fan of that change exactly, but I could see the support for it. Like, I could see the argument for why it might happen that way. But the fact is, they came out and said, rape? Oh, I don't think so. She seems kind of into it, that bit where she's grabbing the shroud. Like, what?
I feel really badly.
Luna agrees.
Their romantic partners.
So anyway, like I said, we don't have to have that dominate the whole discussion, but I just feel like we can't talk about the season in general without mentioning that, because I feel like it's the first really substantial stumble that the show has had as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Bad execution. So what about highlights?
Oberyn!
For season 4.
Yes. Falling in love with Oberyn again.
Mm-hmm.
Oberyn being portrayed well and properly.
Mm-hmm.
I did not think that they were going to really get his essence, and I was not expecting the whole bisexual, pansexual, polyamorous lifestyle. You know, just there are no rules.
Yeah.
And the fact that they went there made me so happy. I was so happy that they did that. And my only problem with the Oberyn thing is that there wasn't more. I could watch a whole spin-off series about Oberyn, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Prequel, that'd be great.
Well, and I think too that it's obviously how awesome he was that made his ultimate fate kind of so shocking. You know, I certainly talked to some people who maybe thought that they went more shocking than they had to, and I think certainly they made an effort to make even people who theoretically knew what was going to happen just go,
yeah.
that was kind of my reaction.
Spectacle. For sure.
Right. But, you know, it's also something that I thought was, you know, if not the specific details, the fact that it would go down that way was just so well supported from everything that had come before that even, like, you know, I remember talking to my friend Mike, who had not read the books, and he was way into Oberyn, like, you know, because who wouldn't be? He's awesome. So, but he often is one of those people who kind of gets an inkling of things that are going to happen. But this was one of the ones he was telling me where, like, he was starting to see it coming, like, about halfway through the fight sequence, but he kept just trying to tell himself, no, I mean, come on. But you do start seeing it. That's where the scene starts laying the groundwork. You see him and cocky, so focused on making it about Tywin that he's not, you know, he's not finishing step 1 before he's going to step 2.
Right. He wanted the confession and the kill, not just the kill.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And
which in hindsight is so greedy.
Yeah.
But the thing is, for him, the confession was more important than the kill.
Well, yeah, I mean,
he
could,
people to know.
Right. It's, you know, as far as he was concerned, yeah, he wants the Mountain to die, but the Mountain wasn't the one who gave the order. You know, he is like, he feels like, well, if you actually got the justice you wanted, the Mountain dying would just be a natural consequence of that.
Exactly.
And so, but it was definitely a lesson, you know, in arrogance, you know, for him that unfortunately, you know, like, he didn't have very much time to reflect on that. But also an illustration for Tyrion that, you know, it's one thing to say, you know, beggars can't be choosers in terms of who's going to fight for you, but it just goes to show you that, like, when the person who's offering to help you really has his own reasons for doing it, it just goes to show you that they're not going to necessarily place you as their priority.
Right.
And that death, by the way, sparked a meme that I absolutely love. We've all seen the browser memes, right, where it's making fun of how slow Internet Explorer is, right? So it's got all the different browsers, and it says,
Right.
rest in peace, Oberyn, rest in peace, Oberyn, and then there's Internet Explorer who goes, rest in peace, whoa, sorry. You guys don't know what's going on, but suddenly an ad started playing, and that was really creepy. My ears started blasting. Anyway, so then everyone, all the browsers, were saying, Firefox and Chrome are saying, rest in peace, Oberyn, and Internet Explorer says, rest in peace, Ned Stark. And then the best part is when somebody adds Netscape and it says, rest in peace, Rhaegar Targaryen.
Oh.
Yeah.
I liked the remix that someone did of that scene that basically just makes it look like Oberyn does win after all. Like it just basically re-edits the sequence a little bit and just makes him look like he actually does go ahead and finish the job, and then just walks away and he's happy and everyone cheers, and it's just kind of like, oh.
Yeah.
Alternate reality.
Yeah.
Steve Pritchard says, do you think they went with Oberyn's full essence to make his demise that much more shocking, as he was such a well-liked character?
I hope so.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's not even just the show, though. I mean, I think that's, it's George R.R. Martin doing his Martin thing. You know what I mean? It's kind of like you make someone super awesome and then you pull a rug out from everybody.
Yeah.
Or, just the idea, I think, I'm not sure that I can think of any particular events in the books where it doesn't feel ultimately supported by how it all plays out, but there's definitely times where you can take a step back and say, okay, here's where he's building up to a point where it's going to be super awesome when you kill that guy. And just especially tying not only him being likable in his own right, but then tying Tyrion's fate apparently to him as well. And then just the idea, too, that you have the mental state that puts Tyrion in afterwards is what directly leads into what happens with him next. And
Yeah, definitely.
Good plotting.
Yeah. Highlight for me are two kind of coming of ages. One, first of all, is Sam through this season, and really coming into his own, and towards the end, finally manning up and kissing Gilly, and it's really great to see that. You think it's one character that could have died in that environment so many times, and especially what he was up against.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good one. And like Sam he's at kind of a critical moment in his character growth right now because they haven't quite built to it, but he's getting to this point where, like, as much as his own instinct is to call himself a coward still or a craven, and to think that he's not good at anything, or at least that the things he is good at aren't worth anything.
Right.
You feel like at some point just the weight of the evidence of stuff that he has actually accomplished is going to have to start sinking in a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I hope they can. I feel like they cast the character well, and I'm looking forward to continuing to see Sam's growth, especially just given what we, at least those of us who have read the books, know his next arc is. I'm interested to see that as well.
That will be very interesting, yeah.
Tim Dodge chimes in when I said two coming of ages. The other one I was alluding to is Sansa learning how to play the game, as Tim puts it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Or becoming
man.
Maleficent.
Because they definitely played a bunch of that stuff different than in the books, because in the books they keep it secret, that they don't let anybody know that it's Sansa. Everyone, the whole ploy that that she's Littlefinger's niece. I mean, they keep that up with everybody in the books, and so in the books, I think it's literally only Littlefinger himself and Lisa that know. Like, not even Robin knows.
Yep.
Robin / Robert in the books, but yeah. So changing that dynamic, I thought was fun. Just first of all, but then also just like even though half of it's costume, just that outfit and her whole attitude coming down at the end just makes me so much more excited for that whole storyline.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I can't wait to see how this difference affects what comes next for them.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, like, I feel like so many readers are quick to be hard on Sansa. She's not a favorite character for many people. And for me, reading Sansa, the first time you read through, you're like, oh my God, you're so stupid. Stop telling everyone everything. Why do you have to tell everyone everything? Things don't work out like the fairy tales. But your second read through, you kind of understand her a little bit more. But also her development is nice and everything, but it doesn't have the same kind of impact as coming down the stairs, looking like Maleficent, and ready to take over. And I think that is probably getting her a lot more support from viewers than Sansa had as readers. And on the one hand, I could argue the whole point of saying, like, every strong female doesn't have to be this badass super bitch, but because that was one of the great things about Sansa is, Sansa had flaws, and she was, in her daydreams and everything, but that was still a strong female character because she was a full character. But I still love it. It's just awesome.
I think this show is certainly, it's got a lot of characters that are strong female characters without necessarily having to have all of them be badass in the way that we've talked about. Like, for example, Brienne is a badass fighter, but she's very awkward and vulnerable in other respects, in a way that's different even than the sort of one of the guys type role, right? And then, of course, think about Marjorie. She's definitely not badass, except that kind of in her way she knows how to get what she wants, and she's just not using a sword to get it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sheriff Bullock was able to get into the Q&A, and we just have to make sure that we use Sheriff Bullock, not his real name.
Sheriff Bullock's not his real name?
Yes. And he wanted to say that the Jaime Cersei rape was the worst decision the showrunners have made. Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreeing to that.
By a wide margin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But can we agree that the casting of Daria Naharis was number 2? I'm just kidding.
Well, which Dario are you complaining about?
I mean, if you take, because we've already talked about the aesthetic, how he looks different in the book. It's just very vibrantly different in the books, very flamboyant. But I mean, even if you go away from that, the fact that they also went from a vanilla-looking handsome actor to a different vanilla-looking handsome actor after I had just gotten used to the fact that this is how this guy's going to look. And he's a fine actor. Both of them are fine actors. I actually prefer the second Dario Naharis, but I just think that I mean, do you think it's like people actually would say, oh, I'm sorry, I can't fit the next Game of Thrones seasons into my schedule, so I'm going to have to back out now? Or do you think that they're actually just saying, let's get a different mountain, or...
No, that's syndrome, what happened, actually. The first Dario got a pilot or something. So he couldn't come back.
Dude, I don't know.
That's what I had read when they recast him.
Yeah. I hope he got
I was amused at seeing the same actor play the new Dario and be, I think his name was Cal in Orphan Black season 2, and just having those both be on at the same time was kind of funny.
I didn't realize.
See this.
Yeah.
So funny. I've been having.
You don't understand. I only just started watching Orphan Black.
This is so funny.
Well, so
Because
are you in
Christiana
season
told
2?
us too.
I am in season 2, and I just got to Cal. So,
yeah.
But
Yeah. Uh-huh.
okay, Windows breaking.
Yeah, I think it was episode 10 that Christiana broke our brains with it.
Yeah, well, and it was just weird because they were actually on at the same time, like not literally the same time slot, but like they were airing in the same weeks, and so going back and forth kind of was weird.
Yeah.
Sheriff Bullock just did the same thing.
Yeah.
Can we agree? No, we cannot agree, because new Dario is Cal from Orphan Black.
Well, like I definitely will also say that the whole back and forth with Dario is, I don't know, it's hard for me to care too much about because I don't especially like the character in the books, and so it's still weird though when they bring in the character from the book and they cast him as looking very different from how he's described in the book and acting different than how he's described in the book. And then they replace him with a guy who looks different and acts different in a third way.
Yeah.
Like not more like the book, but just different in a whole different way. So it's like they don't try to match more like the book. They don't try to match the guy that they had previously. They just go in a completely new direction.
Yeah.
And at the same time, all through all of these things, I'm just I'm rolling my eyes at Daenerys and saying, "Come on, really?"
Well, I do the same thing in the book. Like, I can't.
Yeah.
I actually see more attraction to the actors who play Dario because they don't swagger near as much as the Dario in the book does.
God.
I don't get, her attraction to him in the book, but I still I could totally see Cal Dario playing the Dario from the book. Like, I'm sorry, but HBO people, we're fine with seeing somebody with a forked beard that's 2 different colors and boobies on his sword hilt and, craziness. Like, that
honestly seems like a missed opportunity with boobies on the sword hilt.
Oh, yes.
Hashtag
I mean, like,
boobies on the
really,
sword
he should
hilt.
be like fingering the boobies all the time because that's all he ever does in the book. He does. Every time there's a Dario scene, his fingers going over the nipples of his sword hilt. It's crazy.
Welcome back, Christiana. She's hashtag fingering the boobies at this point.
No, I heard you guys. I muted myself because Luna is going off like an oversensitive car alarm. Yeah, but Dario is so cheesy in the book. I just I can't stand him in the book, and I feel like I just have to take Daenerys's POV's word for it that he's cute because he doesn't act appealing in any way to me, and I'm always just in the book constantly feeling like he is so obviously not like a deliberate trap, like anyone sent him there on purpose for this, but it's just so obviously something that Daenerys should stay far away from if she wants to accomplish anything else in life, because otherwise he's just going to screw up everything that she lets him touch.
He's the bad boy that messes up young girls' lives. And she is, a young girl, and seeing young women in my life, when I see that, they're like, "Oh, this is my new boyfriend," and I'm like, "What?"
Well, yeah, it's like the whole thing of like
same thing.
Yeah, like he brings her the heads of his 2 mercenary captains, and she's like, "So if you betrayed them, why should I trust that you won't betray me?" And he's like, "Well, you see, I'm very attractive." Oh, okay then. Yeah, all right, I'm on board for that. That's legit. That checks out.
Okay, the way that you just said that, by the way, now in my head when I read the books, Dario's going to sound like Francis to me. Well, I'm very attractive.
You could even probably say dude. I can imagine Dario saying dude.
Well, he told her right up front, I'm the most honest person you'll ever meet. I only ever do what I want.
Yeah. And I do it for as long as I feel like it, and then I want something else, and I'll go do that. Yeah.
So, if I may, another scene, another high point for me, and this was at the beginning of the series, is the Hound's KFC moment. Um, I loved all the scenes between the Hound and Arya this season, but to start off with something so cool, like
Yeah.
now that's a scene I could throw on and watch before going out to party, because that scene makes me laugh and makes me excited every time I watch it. I'm like, that is so freaking cool, and that's so Sandor.
Describe this scene a little bit more, please.
Yeah.
They're in the inn, and a bunch of Lannister men come in, and they start talking to him. And he's just sitting there eating his chicken, and he's like, "I'm gonna eat your chicken." And he's like, "What? I'm gonna eat your chicken?" "No, you're not, because you're a wanted man. I'm gonna kill you. I'm gonna kill that guy, and if you keep talking, I'm gonna have to eat every chicken in this goddamn place." And he ends up killing everybody and eating their chicken. And it's just, oh, I love it.
I thought that was what you meant, but I wasn't sure, and nobody was helping me out by saying anything.
The Hound and Arya is another great arc in this season, and I love the dynamic, which is such. I feel like I cannot think of a single other character relationship in all of TV, honestly, that has quite this dynamic, where they have that whole lone wolf and cub, mentor, apprentice, father-daughter like vibe, except that they also hate each other a little bit.
Like, not a little bit. They really hate each other.
Yeah, and just this whole dynamic of, like, the whole bit when Arya tries to get all fancy with the lies to get the farmer to feed them.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Hound just decides to steal all their money, and she just realizes with horror that she basically made that happen.
Yeah.
And realizing that, like, I need to remember that, like, he is the Hound, not my pet dog.
Yeah.
He's on my list.
He's not a
Just
Stark
because
man.
I can sometimes manipulate him into doing what I want does not mean that that will always work. Yeah. And I have to remember that once I sick him on somebody, I can't decide when to call him off. Yep. He's going to do it himself. And so having that whole all play out, but then also him being increasingly impressed and having respect for her, but then also hearing her still list his name in her whole little litany.
Yeah. She hasn't forgotten.
And then at the end, when he wants her to kill him, and she's like, "No, I'm gonna let you suffer," and she just watches him suffer. Love it.
That was gold. That was gold. Kevin checks in. The Ed Screen gave up Dario for the lead in the 4th Transporter film.
All right.
Good career, man.
He can be Jason Statham's little brother.
Yeah. That's like, I don't think any of those kinds of franchises have lived on when the lead left.
Yeah, like, I mean, the comparison that comes immediately to mind is Jeremy Renner doing the 4th Bourne movie, where at least in that one, I don't know about the new Transporter, but at least in that one, they're not trying to pretend that he is the same. He is not playing Jason Bourne.
Right.
But even still, like, even Jeremy Renner, who by the time he's in that movie, like, people knew who this guy was. You know, he was in The Hurt Locker. Yeah. He was in what's that other one he was in with Ben Affleck, I think. I don't remember, The Town or something. But anyway, wasn't it The Town?
I think it was The Town, yeah.
Yeah. So, but anyway, people knew who he was. But at the same time, at least my own perception of that was it just, like, even though he's a guy that I feel like could carry a movie just fine, by trying to continue the Bourne movies without Matt Damon, it makes him feel like he's a step down from Matt Damon, when that wouldn't necessarily be true if they weren't trying to draw the connection in the same way.
Mm-hmm.
Like if they just gave it a different name.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, they could set it in the same universe, but give it a different name.
Yeah, except that, it's Hollywood, so the whole point is people say, Bourne, I like them Bourne movies, let's go buy a ticket, Martha.
Got us franchise.
Yeah, pretty much.
So any other high points?
Well, the end of the series, of course, with the whole trial to me was a high point, and of course Tyrion confessing in his most eloquent ways of confessing are always fun, and then the whole Tyrion and Tywin on the throne is fantastic.
For me, like a big high point of all that was Tyrion and Jaime, and
Yes.
really, they had the one moment where that really nice hug and really connecting and stuff. I thought was cool.
And then, of course, just obviously their final confrontation. I thought they did a really good job of tweaking the conversation from the way it happens in the books, which is a little different just because they had laid the groundwork for some of their relationship a little bit differently in the show, and so they wouldn't want to have it verbatim. But especially, I think in particular, it was Shay being a different type of character in the show compared to the books. And, so just having that confrontation, which was so kind of an iconic moment from the books, and having that play out, you got these two extremely powerful actors, at the top of their game, I think, and I thought that was really great. But if no one else wants to chime in on that particular scene, the other thing I want to mention is the stuff up at the wall, not necessarily just that whole big battle sequence, which was great, although I think it was a misstep to have it separated, like the one battle and then the end of the episode, and then the next episode kind of does the next day, and then what happens, breaking it up like that felt weird to me. But the battle itself I thought was super exciting, and even though I had quibbles with some of the small details about it, John and Ygritte, all of that just really worked for me, and it was one of my favorite storylines, and I thought it all played out really well. The only thing I kind of didn't like is I almost wish that that we maybe didn't even need to see who shot her. I mean, that's how it happens in the books, is that we're never really sure whose arrow it was. Yeah. And it doesn't really even matter, and so I kind of wished that they hadn't tried to make it a thing with that kid. But, that's fine. I'm not as worried about that. But all the rest of it I thought was really great.
Well, and that whole episode had a lot to do with Sam's development as well. I mean, everything with Sam and Gilly was fantastic. And then, what's his face who hid with Gilly? What's his name?
It wasn't.
Was that Thorne? No, not.
Was it Thorne? No, Thorne was the one that kind of. Janos Slint.
Slint. That's who it was. I'm like, because Thorne stepped up, and that was actually really cool.
Yeah.
Like, I liked cheering for Thorne because he didn't like Jon, but when it came down to it, he was still a good guy, and that shows that you don't have to like our heroes to be a good guy.
Well, and he even said
it was like, you're a really bad dude. Tyrion was right for sending you there. Sorry, Viv, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say that, it was, I think, probably the first episode seasons ago with Jon at the wall for the first time in his first training session, or it was the first training session with Sam, so probably, God, would have been the end of season 1 or something like that, and they're trying to...
I think even 2 or 3 in season 1.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
So they're trying to do what Jon asked, which is take it easy on Sam. He's the new recruit, and he's obviously out of shape, a lousy fighter, and he's self-confessed craven. He has no courage, and that's shameful in their eyes. And so they're trying to not attack him for Jon, kind of liking him as the underdog. And then Thorne reminds them, that's all well and good, but is that the kind of person you want standing next to you when the White Walkers come knocking at your door? So it was it was really hard to like him if you had empathy or sympathy for Sam, because it seemed so cruel, but it was such a valid point. And it was certainly true when when Castle Black was attacked.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just the right person at the right time would save a favorite character's life. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
One thing, though, I wish they had done maybe a little bit different with Sam is I miss that in the books a lot of his brothers saw him slay the White Walker, and so when they call him Sam the Slayer, it's not sarcastic because they believe him. People saw it happen. So whereas when it's just him and Gilly, they don't take his word for it and they don't believe him. And like I kind of miss that. In the books, they do believe him because a bunch of people saw it happen.
Yeah, he got some accolade for some of the amazing things that he's done and never been given credit for any of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So anyway, that's a minor nitpick. But yeah, and just the whole action sequence, like some of those big 360 shots where it's going all around the castle and it's establishing the whole layout of where everybody is, and you got all these different fronts. You got poor Gren, going to fight the giant under the gate. You got the guys up on top of the wall. You got the people fending off Tormund.
Mm-hmm.
And just all of these different things happening at once that I thought was really great. It was well filmed.
Can't wait to see it in IMAX.
So here's something we haven't talked about much at all so far. Is other than discussing Dario briefly, what about Dany's storyline this season?
Chooch, you're the noob. What do you think?
Well, I didn't have it as a highlight for me. I don't know.
Lots of cities, lots of slaves.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure how I feel about it yet.
You percolate on that, baby.
I think it felt like it was faster paced than the books. But I'm not sure how I would feel if I didn't have that to compare to, because honestly, as she's going through Essos in the books, I feel like it takes forever, which it should, because Essos is huge. But at the same time, you're just like, oh my gosh, enough already.
They're definitely accelerating it some. Yeah. I mean, the whole bit with discovering that her dragons have killed a child. That whole bit. I mean, that's book 5.
Exactly.
That happens in. So yeah, they've got her storyline up to midway into book 5.
Yeah. I don't know what they're gonna do for her next.
Yeah.
Well, it's like I told Chooch when we were watching the trailer for the trailer. I don't know what happens to Tyrion next because I haven't read book 5 yet, and holy crap, he's in the trailer. Yay, he's going to be in the season, but it's one of those wonderful things that we'll just have to suffer through as more Peter Dinklage than we should have.
Oh, what a trial.
Darn it.
Well, I guess overall, as I kind of think about it, her arc, at least, I really like, in that she's done so much, everybody needs to follow me just because I am the queen. I'm the Khaleesi. So it was a lot of hands on the hips, and just because it's the way it needs to be, and now she really is really building something.
Yeah.
And by her decisions of freeing the slaves and going that route. And so, yeah, overall, I guess I really do like that. And I forgot about the dragon killing the child.
Yeah. It's a concern.
Yeah, it has huge implications on how much control do you really have. And
yeah. Well, chaining up 2 of them, but you don't have the 3rd one because it won't come back.
Yeah.
It's kind of similar to the Stark kids having to learn how to train their direwolves because they weren't naturally domesticated animals that they were having run around the keep and all that stuff.
Yeah. Well, and I I also, they haven't gone heavy into it here so far, but I like what they've just started with in the show, which is the dragons being uncontrollable as a little bit of an expression that maybe Dany's not actually doing what she's really supposed to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Right.
she was granted the dragons because she was accepting her true destiny, but somehow she's lost her way, and as a result, she is losing control of the dragons because they only belong to her if she's doing what's right with them. Of course, by that logic, you might ask, well, who's deciding that, right?
Yeah.
Is it the Seven? Is it the Lord of Light? Fire. Who knows? I mean, that's something that we also got a little bit of a weird hint to. It was out of nowhere, even for us book readers, which is apparently King White Walker.
Yeah.
Turning the baby into Baby White Walker.
Yeah.
That was a big thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was in my highlights for sure. The White Walker Stonehenge, but actually having some movement in that end of mystery, really, that we don't know anything about, was really cool.
Yeah. Oh, another highlight for me, even just like, I feel like it was a bit of a jarring tone just because of how bananas it was, but the whole weird skeleton fight as Bran and Mira and Jojen are trying to make their way to the tree, just the skeletons coming out of the snow. It was just one of those things you're just like, what? What?
Yeah.
And
I
then
liked it.
How messed up and stabbing children, and it's just like,
Yeah, that was
exactly what I was doing. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So like that was wacky too.
Yeah.
That's an example too of when we're talking about little details that they might change even up to including fate of certain characters, is that at least up to that point in the story in the books, Jojen is sickly and not doing great, but he is not stabbed to death by skeletons.
Mm.
Yeah. So it's that's just an example of an actual character, a significant character, being killed earlier than in the book.
It's kind of, you're led to think that he's really.
Yeah, he's not doing very well.
He in the end is essentially gone, but yeah.
Yeah, well, I just mean it's a bit more like in earlier in this season where he's clearly very ill, and he's starting to you can see that he's only half present when you talk to him, because and so like that was happening certainly in the books, but like I said, he is not in the books stabbed to death by skeletons.
Yeah, I actually liked his death better, because I cared for the character. I was like, at least you had a better death. But at the same time, story-wise, I'm not sure if it was better. It was different.
I mean, what it suggests is that even perhaps if not completely gone in the books, he's not going to contribute a whole lot more. Yeah. I should also, we should not leave out that he was stabbed to death and then blown up by magic missile.
Yeah.
That's the way to go.
Yeah.
I actually just found in my notes there were 3 of us from episode 0 of this season when we did our pre-show episode, what everyone was hoping to see in this season, and of course everybody really only cared about what Chooch wanted to see. And he said that at the beginning of the season, he said that he still wants Joffrey to die. Check. And then asks, would Tywin do anything to keep Jaime and Cersei apart? And then just Bronn in general, you're interested in his storyline. And then Dany's travels to free slaves, or would she continue raising an army for Westeros? And of course, what of the Blackfish?
Yes, what of the Blackfish?
Has that been answered?
Not.
Did we learn anything in this entire season about the Blackfish?
No.
Because the last time we saw him, is that really still at the red wedding when he stepped out?
Yep.
Okay, so the last time we saw him was red wedding, which was before the purple wedding. Okay, so yeah, it's been the whole
He went to
season.
take a piss and
And never came back.
just like my dad.
And
Oh,
Oh,
hush.
no, just kidding.
Just don't even.
okay, moving on.
Oh,
Oh,
not even.
are you guys hearing me? Hello?
No, we
I
were.
was,
Now
okay,
we are.
Apparently not, because that's annoying. What I was trying to say is, in the show, did he even go to the red wedding?
Yes.
I was
Yeah.
recalling that.
No, he went to
Thought
the
he
red
did.
wedding. He was one
Maybe
of the
I'm
ones.
reversing what happened, because I was thinking he
was
didn't
there.
even go.
He was there, and he was at the ceremony, and he was there in the refreshment hall doing the toasts. And then just before they swept the bride out to take upstairs with the groom to do that whole thing, he went out to
Okay.
take a piss. And then they closed the doors, and then bam, the red hit the wedding.
Okay, okay, I'm just reversing, I guess, what happens in the
No,
books
wait.
versus what happens in
Hang
the.
on. I just looked this up, so I'm comparing two wikis here.
Okay.
Second, I will get a final ruling.
Tim
Fine.
Dodge, magic
'Cause
missile, one of my
episode
favorite
0,
spells.
yeah. Episode 0, you just had the question, what of the blackfish, which I assumed meant that we still hadn't
Yeah.
seen him since the red wedding.
Well, we certainly haven't seen him since. I
Okay,
was
let's
just trying
see.
to remember.
Oh, okay.
In the
Well, yeah, he
show.
was definitely there. It's
During
been
the
a
wedding
recurring
feast,
question.
he goes outside to relieve himself on his
Okay,
drink.
yeah. So
Okay.
you guys were remembering right. I
Yep.
just
Okay.
I don't know why I was thinking he didn't go, but
I never doubted that I had it
Okay,
right, 'cause
it's
we've
like
talked about it a
in
couple
Book,
times.
he didn't go. That's why we're confused.
see that's what it was. Is I was just reversing which was which.
Yep.
Is all.
Because in the book, he stays with Rob's wife.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, that's why I was. Yeah,
Catelyn
that's why.
said that would be really rude to bring your wife to this wedding, you know, and shove her in the face. Like, what?
He might get so mad he'll stab her in her pregnant belly.
I know.
Oh my God. No way, no how.
Anyway, one of the other things is that we haven't really talked about Joffrey's death. That happened this season too.
That was one of my
episode 2.
highlights. I was saving for last if nobody brought it up, but it came in early and finally, painfully, ding dong, the Joffrey's dead.
Yeah.
I liked how well, even before the critical moment, they really built that he was not only awful but getting worse, and everybody knew it.
Yeah, even
Like, you
Tywin
could-
had to admit it.
Oh yeah, like during that whole wedding, it just gets worse and worse, and I liked them showing us all these reaction shots of people going, "This is not good. This guy is like, we knew he was bad, but boy, this is dangerous bad. This is not, hey, we can manage this. This is like, we're going to have to do something." And then someone did. I liked one article. I remember suggesting that they thought they would have laughed if as he breathed his last, if Olenna just stood up and was like, "Come on, we were all thinking it."
Yeah.
Or golf clap.
Yeah.
Or no, slow clap.
Slow clap.
Yeah, but boy, in terms of just going out on, I don't know, a big note, just as far as what a performance, just in terms of taking what is an extremely memorable character from the page and then portraying him expertly. Jack Gleason just bravo
he
to you,
should have won
sir.
an award. I mean, there's so many times that there are actors that portray people that we hate, and it's their skill in acting that makes it work. I mean, you hear all the time about how the actor who played Biff Tannen and the actor who played the older brother in Wonder Years get treated really badly by people in real life because they're like, "I hate you," and it's like, but that was my character. I did a good job playing the character. And because they're so good at it, people end up transferring that feeling to them. And I've seen so many people say, about Jack Lace, they're like, oh man, if I saw that kid on the street, I'd punch him. I'm like, no, he did a good job, and he's actually a really neat guy. And he's into the fandom and everything. He's awesome, and so he should get an award for making us hate him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Anna Gunn, who plays the wife in Breaking Bad, and a lot of people hated that character, and I never quite understood that. I thought she was an awesome character, but everybody's just such a bitch, and she had done like an op-ed in the New York Times that shows, I constantly get death threats and rape threats because they hate me, because they hate the character.
Yeah, I loved that show, but some of the other people who loved the show loved it for what I believe are entirely the wrong reasons.
There you go.
Now, I don't want to talk universally because there's a whole spectrum of people who liked the show and liked different things about it, but I think, and I feel very strongly about this, that there is a whole subset of the fandom for that show that wanted Walt to get away with everything and felt that she was just holding him back.
That is a whole nother podcast, Miss Ellis.
Yeah.
Well, and hang on, but can I say
a
that
whole other world.
the same thing happened in Dexter with
I mean, that's
Darla? No, what was Rita?
The bad guys.
Yeah.
Julie Benz's character Rita, people hated her and felt that she was holding Dexter back, and it's like, no, she's really in the right here. He's a serial killer and he's doing wrong things, and even though she doesn't know he's a serial killer, he's doing wrong things in their relationship. There's a red carpet interview that I saw with Lena Headey where the interviewer's asking her, like, so what's it like to play such a bitch? And she's like, what? No. And he's like, yeah, Cersei. She's just really evil and horrible, and she's such a bitch. And she's like, no. She's great. Yeah. And I just wanted to applaud her, because she when she talks about the character, she talks about her as, people hate her, but she's doing everything she does because she thinks she's in the right. And so she's got the character's headspace.
She's doing what she knows to do,
Yeah, and she's doing, objectively, sure, you can say Cersei's making wrong choices, but she's doing what she can to protect her family, protect her position, stop herself from being sold off, and all of this other stuff. So, when you look at the characters from their perspectives, it's like, yeah, no, Cersei, no, not really a bitch. She's just doing her best. Joffrey, sociopath. But it was, again, played really well.
Yeah. See, now, while I won't complain that Lena Headey does not have the right to feel that way, I also feel that it's a little bit of a play. Cersei's kind of a bitch.
Oh, no.
I mean, yeah. No, I like
in a good
there's
way.
Complexity there, and you can say, yeah. So, but I just mean it's kind of like Cersei is a bitch, and Lena Headey knows that.
Oh yeah. Well, there's one
it's
thing
kind
where
of fun
she's
to
on
have her defend it, though.
Yeah. Where she's on there's this one episode of, is it Jimmy something or other, one of the late night talk shows, and all she's doing is drinking wine and staring the person down.
That was Jimmy Kimmel.
Jimmy
That
Kimmel.
was the Jimmy Kimmel show.
And she's just like staring him down, and he's saying that she has mastered the art of drinking wine and insulting people. And
she does it all in Cersei character. It was awesome.
Yeah. I love it.
If only I had to rip some paper.
Yeah. All right. Chooch, did you have anything else before I talk about the contest?
Well, one last highlight for me was Arya and Brienne meeting.
Oh yeah, Arya and Brienne.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because the whole way that final confrontation played out was
so
invented. Because of course it's weird. First of all, that the Hound fights Roisin Biter instead of Brienne.
Yeah.
And then the Hound and Brienne fight, And like it all works in a really effective way that kind of ends with everybody in the same spot that they would have been, but how they got there was very different, and it allowed us for some intersections that we wouldn't have had otherwise.
Yeah.
It was great.
They did a really great job executing all of that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Arya and well, and then of course Brienne and Olenna. I think that happened earlier in the season too.
What about Hot Pie? Hot Pie.
Yes.
He's improved his wolf bread.
He did.
Yes, it's gotten so much better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, and then even just Pod and Brienne, they work.
Oh my God!
You know,
Oh my God! I can't wait to see what they do with
that
them.
dynamic duo.
Yeah. So ready for contest, people?
Huh?
Yeah.
So basically, I have no idea how PG was tracking all of these. We couldn't find a spreadsheet or anything like that with the winners. Nothing easy about it. So I went through and did the best that I could, listening to the beginnings and listening to the ends of episodes for news on the contest stuff. And basically, it seems like it was a really bad season for getting the survey questions posted in time. And we basically have ended up with like a 4-way tie for first place amongst listeners, which we can't afford to honor those prizes, so sorry. But as far as the cast member that won, that had the most, it was PG.
Yay!
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He beat us.
A lot.
He beat Chooch by like 2. He beat and then it was Nutty, and then it was Christiana, and then it was me. But Christiana, there were a couple that you didn't get yours in.
Yeah.
And I think that's what skewed your chances. And
could have been a contender. Could have been somebody.
And we are in the process, with the changes and everything like that. We're getting together and figuring out what season 5 is going to be like, and discussing if we do a contest, if we do a different kind of thing that's not so counting heavy and such a burden, because it really is. It's just such a pain in the ass. So we may change our contest. And there were a couple of other things that I wanted to announce before we got too late.
Before you announce that, can we invite our listeners and viewers, if you guys have ideas for contests and stuff, send them our way, and we'll think on them.
BTW at specficmedia.com.
Yes.
And then the other things I wanted to touch on was that the anthology that was put together by T. Morris and Val Griswold Ford, to sell in tribute of P.G. Holyfield, who was our fearful, fear-inducing grump.
Grumpy.
Grumpy,
so
grumpy.
The anthology, the anthology Tales of a Tesla Ranger is now for sale at Amazon for the Kindle. The print book is not available yet, and the proceeds will go to the trust that was created for his daughter and his estate. If you want to just make a donation, you can go to gofundme.com/PGFUND, PG Fund. You can always find PG's audiobooks, which I highly recommend, is hearing him read his own novel to you from audiobooks.com. His novel Murder at Abaddon Hill, which he did 2 of the main character voices for a reason I still don't understand. But you can hear it in his own. He did really wonderful, masterful audio productions. So if you don't have the money and you can't make a donation, you can't afford a book right now, go listen to it and enjoy it anyways, and then just share it with somebody. And that's all we really want to do, is spread his word anyways. I also want to announce that the cancer anthology that Chooch and I have been trying to finish, we started it in 2011, but as my health problems have gotten worse and worse, that's delayed it. We've now got our final deadline for submissions. I've got an editor, and we are hoping to publish for May, and the deadline for submissions is March 1st. And it's just basically any way that you want to express how cancer's affected you, whether it's a written work or a piece of artwork. I've got, some beautiful drawings, and I've even got sculptures and watercolor and just different pieces of artwork, photographs, just a lot of different things that we're going to use and create a cancer anthology that will benefit cancer charities, and not specific to PG, but to like the greater cancer world. It's not limited to PG's cancer or breast cancer from my family, or I can't even pronounce the one that Chooch's brother had, but the cancer charities will benefit. And also that at Balticon we are hoping to have a Beyond the Wall live show. They're doing some renovations at the hotel, and it's kind of made things interesting for the schedulers. So we're hoping for a Beyond the Wall live show that would be Sunday, and we're also hoping to host a new media party where we'll also celebrate the life of PG Holyfield and some others that we've lost since last Balticon. Cross your fingers that we can get those for Sunday, because that's the earliest that Chooch and I can get there.
And if you're coming to Balticon, I believe Christiana, you're going to be there this year, yes?
I'll be there. Yep.
Okay, good.
You
I didn't
better.
want to just assume. Christiana and I will be there most of the weekend. On Friday, there is going to be a barbecue down the road at the other hotel. There will be a little photo of PG there. And so if you're not able to come Sunday, but you're there on another day,
Yeah.
You can come say hi, whatever you want to do. We're available.
Yeah, I don't I know Saturday there's something going on for CJ Henderson, who also passed away, and I don't know of anything that's PG specific that's going on Saturday. Chooch and I are actually going to be out of town. Our son that turned 18 today, he's a man, he's an adult. He graduates Balticon Friday. So we're going to be out of state cheering him on as he crosses the stage. And so the earliest we'll get to Balticon will be Saturday afternoon or evening or something like that. So
early graduation
you'll just
for high
have to
school.
keep my girls busy while we're gone until we get there.
That's an early graduation for high school, isn't it?
It's I haven't bought plane tickets yet because they had like an extra week and a half last year because of snow days. So I'm not ready to buy airline tickets yet. I'm thinking that they may delay it, but that's exactly what I thought too, considering that the school year doesn't end until the beginning of June.
Yeah, I'm like, am I just a northern girl or what? Like, because I know when I was working in Florida, they finished like almost a month early.
Yeah, yeah.
I used to go work in Florida, and I'd finish everything up there. I'd go to Balticon, and then I'd do a whole other month in New York.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
So,
like that for him too. He starts earlier and finishes earlier, but we didn't even realize that it was head to head until he was home for Christmas, and I was like, well, we're going to his graduation.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
absolutely.
It's just not
Absolutely.
even. So the earliest we would get there would be Saturday.
Apparently, we have to have another moment of silence. We have lost another beloved member. The gazebo at the Hunt Valley Inn is gone.
I'm not even ready to talk about that yet.
No more Thunderdome.
No more Thunderdome. You don't understand. Nutty, you get a Sunday nights.
Oh,
you
yeah.
and me and Tony and Hugh, for at least the last 2 years, for some reason, ended up in the Thunderdome taking selfies.
Yep.
Just for God knows what reason, what struck our fancy.
Well, I'll tell you what happened in the gazebo, though. It's that role-playing group went after it, and they killed it.
They suck.
There was an
Point them
out of it
out
and
to me,
everything.
Nutty. I mean, we dubbed that the Thunderdome, like in... Jesus, Chooch, when was that? Like 2010 at Murr's, one of Murr's Heaven breakfasts?
Yeah.
Lord have mercy. Yeah, it's going to be weird this year seeing how they renovate everything.
So,
bless you.
Bless you.
I was going to ask if anybody, the outlook for Season 5, we're going to do, obviously, a Season 5 pre-show before it airs, closer to the date, but if there's any overall
Well, my biggest thing I'm looking forward to is the sand snakes.
Sand
Oh,
snakes,
you know, the
We're
red
going
viper
on
may be
Dune?
gone, but he
Yeah.
has 8
No, Beetlejuice,
daughters.
honey.
Oh yes, Beetlejuice.
And Oberon's brother, hopefully.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a lot to look forward to, but we'll probably. I'm thinking that Christiana had some conversations she wanted to have about game, and we've got some Game of Thrones stuff game-wise to talk about too. So maybe we'll even find some time before the preseason episode to talk about just the media. Like you guys can talk more about the books, although I think you guys did a really great job pimping it. I know I'm dying now. Y'all best be bringing it to Balticon so I can see it. We can do, reviews of different things in the world that we love so much if you guys are interested.
Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, the game that I was talking about is the Telltale's Game of Thrones video game, which as you said, we can talk more about another time. But that's the game that I was certainly talking
so
about.
you guys go check out that game. So when we do that episode, you can listen.
Well, and there's only one episode out now, and so it may be that more will be out by the time we talk more about it.
So where do you play this game?
Oh, it's available on all sorts of different consoles and PC, I think. It's just like Telltale's Walking Dead or A Wolf Among Us. It's the same basic concept, only it's Game of Thrones.
Huh. I haven't played those, so.
Yeah, the story in this one is you play House Forrester, which is a minor house dedicated to the Starks, and it takes place as Lord Forrester has traveled to the Twins for a wedding.
Oh my!
But you actually follow and play as several of different characters from House Forrester, and it's actually I'm kind of getting into it now in the way I was just saying that I wouldn't, but just the short version
Don't make me regret bringing it up, girl.
The short version is it's entirely a different thing to watch characters in a hard decision, in a place where they have to make hard decisions, and to be then. Now you are the one making the decision.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
So, let's say Ramsay Snow has just threatened you. Do you stand up to him?
I run away crying as
Distract
fast
him?
as I can. Hope I'm faster than the damn dog.
I get a cup.
So anyway, that's all I'll say about it now, but we can maybe talk about that more at some point.
Absolutely.
Tim Dawes just asked will you be discussing the board game as well, and we have a board game.
We have at least
two board games.
We have at least two board games.
The one
and we have the
played.
RPG. We have what?
You guys had the board game that I've played. We just never played it together.
Yeah, we've got the board game, which we tried playing with Christiana to fail. And then we have the card game to play, and then we've also got the RPG to play that I'm hoping that we can find somebody that's already played around in that world that wants to be the game master for us, because that's what PG was going to do.
Yeah.
That was kind of the deal. It was like, cool, you're going to do all the work, right?
It's a fun system. I was doing it online with a group of mine. And again, I'll get more into that if we do a gaming episode. But it was one of those things that I was really starting to get into, and then other people just stopped making their moves, and I'm like, but can we finish the campaign? But can we finish the campaign? And then I realized after gaming with this group for a while that there were certain members that would ultimately always do that. So I have several campaigns that never actually finished.
Yeah.
Really interesting settings.
Bummer. So the short answer is yes, we will be talking about all the various incarnations of games.
And if you know of any app games that you guys can bring to the table, let us know about that too.
All right.
Cool. I think we're under 2 hours. I think.
Just barely.
On a record.
Real quick, just so you guys know where we've got a Facebook page for specficmedia.com that you can like, and then you'll see the updates of when we're going to be streaming, because there are other shows beyond the wall that we do produce and put out, and Christiana's on one, and we've got some special episodes, some more top 10 stuff, I think, that I meant to talk to you about, Chooch. That was something that was started. You guys, Christiana and PG and some other folks talked video games. And so uh, just thinking about doing a comic book episode and just doing some different kind of things like that, more of those top 10 kind of episodes and having guests on and do fun stuff. So you can like the Facebook page, and that's probably the easiest thing for anybody to do anymore, or sign up for the feed.
Follow us
Google Plus
at
page.
BTW Podcast on Twitter, and they can follow the SpecFic Media page on Google Plus, right?
Yeah, yeah,
There
that's
you go.
pretty much how you get us.
We're everywhere.
Cool. Well, thank you everybody for joining us and interacting. That's some of the best stuff, I think.
And sorry for the long delay. You understand why.
Yeah.
Yes. We are back on track, full force,
Yeah,
moving ahead, and yeah.
really
Maybe
excited.
we even might do a mini IMAX review after.
Oh yeah, do you
That'd
guys
be
have your
cool.
tickets yet? Are you guys going if you find studios nearby or theaters nearby? I can't hear you, Christiana.
You're talking, but we can't hear you.
Phone. Earth. Like I'm not touching it. I just need to buy a new one. Except I'm not confident that that's the problem. So I'm.
Oh.
It's gonna
Bring
make
your
me cry.
computer and come
Well,
here.
what's weird though is it never seems to happen when I'm doing just stuff with me. Like I never pay any attention to it, and it's always fine. It's only when I'm talking to someone like on a Hangout that's the only time it happens.
Blame Google.
Well, what was your answer? Because I forgot the question now.
Oh well, I was just gonna say that I want to, but I haven't bought tickets yet. I haven't actually.
Betty?
I just found out there was an IMAX within an hour of me, so I'll see if they're actually doing it.
Cool. Well, we can coordinate dates and maybe we can do an episode. I know when we've got our tickets for, but you guys check it out and then we can start a conversation about maybe doing, like Chooch said, that's a great idea, do a reaction show. I'm down.
Yeah. Great. All right, then we're gonna say goodbye. And,
Bye, guys. Oh, we've got loves.
I didn't cue out the outro.
Uh-oh. Well, good, because I'm going to say bye and hi to all the folks, Sheriff Bullock and Steve and Dave and Nicole. Thank you guys for joining us.
Oh, wow. Everybody started talking.
Yeah, everyone's saying goodbye now.
That's awesome.
The magic mirror, and I see you, and I see Dave, and I see Nicole.
Shut up.
All right, we're out. Thank you again.
Bye.
Music.
If you'd like to send feedback to Beyond the Wall, you can email us at btw@specficmedia.com. That's btw@specficmedia.com. Or you could send us a voicemail at 704-315-5884, or you can comment on the web. Go to specficmedia.com, and there you'll find a shiny little button to click on that'll take you right to our page. This podcast is released under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, Share-alike 3.0 Unported license. Feel free to share and remix. Just give us credit and don't charge money for it.